Tonight, you slip into a world where the sands hum with ancient whispers and the stars pulse like a heartbeat. You're not just anywhere, you're in Egypt, where gods walk the earth, their shadows long and heavy. Lie back, let your breath soften, and feel the desert's warmth cradle you as we begin a tale of Horus and Set, a battle that carved Egypt's soul. You stand on a temple rooftop, the stones still warm from the day's sun, the air sharp with the scent of myrrh burning in braziers below. Dawn is breaking, a thin gold line splitting the horizon, and you feel a stir in the air, like wings slicing through mist. Horus is here, the falcon god, his form half man, half bird, his eyes gleaming like polished obsidian. His cry pierces the silence, sharp and wild, a vow that echoes across the Nile's green ribbon. He's not just calling to the sky, he's calling to Set, his uncle, his rival, the stormbringer who would tear Egypt apart. You feel the weight of his resolve, heavy as the sandstone beneath your feet, a promise to reclaim the throne stolen by treachery. The temple priests chant softly, their voices weaving through the incense, but your eyes are on Horus, his wings catching the first rays of light. He's young, fierce, and burning with a grief you can almost taste grief for his father, Osiris, struck down by Set's envy. You notice the way Horus's talons grip the parapet, as if grounding himself against the chaos. Set stirs in the distance. The desert beyond the temple shimmers, and you squint, catching a flicker of red sand swirling far off Set's domain, his challenge already rising like a storm. You wonder if Horus feels fear, this god who seems so unyielding, but his gaze is steady, fixed on that distant threat. A priest nearby, his linen robe brushing the stone, murmurs that the gods' battles are never just theirs. Egypt itself will rise or fall with Horus's fight. You shift, the cool dawn air brushing your skin, and feel a quiet awe. Horus isn't just a warrior. He's the hope of a land that needs order, a king-to-be who must face a god of destruction. The sun climbs higher, painting the temple gold, and you imagine Horus soaring into the sky, his shadow sweeping the earth, searching for Set. You chuckle softly. Gods don't get to hit snooze on their destinies, do they? But there's no rush in this moment, just the slow unfurling of a battle that will shape history. You lean against the temple wall, its carvings rough under your fingers, and feel Horus's vow settle into you, a promise of justice that's as heavy as it is bright. The horizon glows now, and you sense the weight of what's coming, not just a fight, but a war that will test the falcon's wings against the storm's fury. You breathe deeply, the incense curling into your lungs, and let the scene shift, carrying you toward the desert where Set waits, his laughter already rumbling like thunder. You're not just watching this battle, you're part of it, drawn into a story where every step Horus takes pulls Egypt closer to unity or chaos. The temple fades behind you, but Horus's cry lingers, a sound that's both a challenge and a prayer, guiding you into the heart of their struggle. You walk now, sand soft underfoot, toward the red haze where Set's power grows, knowing this is only the beginning of a clash that will echo through time. The stars above seem to lean closer, as if they, too, are waiting to see how Horus's vow will meet Set's defiance. You feel the desert's pulse, steady and ancient, and let it carry you forward, into a tale where gods bleed, fight, and shape a nation's soul. The air grows warmer as you leave the temple behind, your feet sinking into the sand, each step pulling you deeper into Horus's world. You can still hear his cry, fainter now, but it's etched into the wind, a reminder of the oath he swore as the sun rose. You're heading toward the desert's edge, where the green of the Nile gives way to barren dunes, and you feel a shift in the air, a prickling unease, like the moment before a storm breaks. The priest's chants are gone, replaced by a low hum, almost a growl, rising from the earth itself. You pause, your breath catching, and notice the sand ahead swirling in tight spirals, red as blood, as if stirred by an unseen hand. This is Set's territory, Sul, you realize, and even the ground seems to pulse with his restless energy. You squint, trying to make out shapes in the haze, and for a moment, you think you see him a figure tall and angular, his eyes glinting like embers, his laughter sharp enough to cut. He's not here, not yet, but his presence is a weight, a taunt that Horus cannot ignore. You wonder what it's like to face a god like Set, whose every breath is a rebellion against order. A stray gust carries the scent of dust and something metallic, and you chuckle quietly. Maybe even gods get nervous before a fight, though Set seems more likely to revel in the chaos. You keep walking, the dunes rising around you, and feel Horus's vow trailing you like a shadow. He's out there, somewhere, his falcon eyes scanning the same horizon, preparing for the moment he'll meet Set face to face. The sand crunches softly, and you imagine Horus's wings beating above, his heart as fierce as the dawn. You're not just a wanderer here, you're a witness to the spark of a battle that will decide Egypt's fate. The red haze thickens, and you sense Set's challenge growing closer, a storm that Horus must either tame or be consumed by. You press on, the desert stretching endlessly, and let the story pull you deeper, toward the moment when falcon and storm will collide. The dunes part, revealing a vast plain where the sand glitters under the climbing sun, and you feel the tension in the air, like a bowstring pulled taut. You're standing now at the edge of something sacred, a place where the gods' wills clash, and you can almost see Horus and Set circling each other. Not in body yet, but in spirit. Horus's vow feels closer, a heat in your chest, as if his determination has seeped into you. You glance back toward the temple, its silhouette faint against the sky, and realize how far you've come, how far Horus must go to meet Set's challenge. The red sand swirls again, and you imagine Set's voice, low and mocking, daring Horus to step into his domain. You kneel, letting the sand sift through your fingers, and notice how it shifts. Never still, just like Set himself. Horus, though, is different, steady, focused, a falcon riding the wind with purpose. You smile faintly, thinking how even gods must feel the weight of a grudge, especially one born of betrayal. The plain stretches before you, and you sense that this is where their battle will begin, not with swords, but with wills, each god staking their claim to Egypt's throne. You rise, the sun now high, its light harsh but somehow comforting, like Horus's resolve. The desert hums, alive with the promise of their clash, and you step forward, drawn toward the heart of the storm where Set waits. The air shimmers, and you feel the story tightening around you, pulling you into the next moment of Horus's fight, a fight that's not just for a crown, but for the soul of a nation. You breathe slowly, the sand warm against your skin, and let the horizon call you onward, where the falcon's vow will meet the storm's defiance. You're deep in the desert now, the sun a fierce eye overhead, its heat pressing against your skin like a silent command. The air shimmers with dust, and you feel the ground pulse beneath your feet, as if the earth itself is restless. You've left the temple's cool stone far behind, drawn by the echo of Horus's vow. But now a new sound rises, a low, rumbling laugh that seems to come from the dunes themselves. You pause, your breath catching, and taste the grit of sand on your lips, sharp with the scent of scorched earth. This is Set's domain, where the red sands swirl in defiance, and you sense him before you see him. A shadow moving in the haze, tall and angular, his eyes glinting like sparks in a dying fire. He's not fully here, not yet, but his presence is a weight, a challenge that curls around you like smoke. You squint, catching the way the sand spirals tighter, forming shapes that might be claws or teeth, as if Set is sculpting his defiance into the desert itself. His laughter rolls again, not cruel, but wild, like a storm that cares nothing for what it breaks. You feel a shiver, despite the heat, and wonder what it's like to be Horus, facing a god who thrives on chaos. The horizon glows red, and you imagine Set standing there, his head crowned with the strange, forked ears of his beastly form, daring Horus to cross this burning plain and meet him. You take a step, the sand shifting underfoot, and feel the weight of Set's challenge not just to fight, but to prove that Horus's order can tame his rebellion. A stray gust whips your hair, and you chuckle softly, thinking how even gods must feel the sting of a rival's taunt, like a jab you can't ignore. The desert stretches endlessly, but you sense a boundary here, a line Horus must cross to answer Set's call. You kneel, your fingers tracing the sand, and notice how it moves, alive, restless, just like Set's heart. The laughter fades, but it lingers in your ears, a promise of trouble that Horus cannot avoid. You're not just wandering now, you're standing where the falcon god's vow meets its first test, where Egypt's fate begins to tremble. The sun burns brighter, and you rise, drawn deeper into the haze where Set's challenge waits, sharp and unyielding. You're part of this story, carried by its pulse, as the desert hums with the clash that's coming. You walk on, the sand soft but searing, and let the scene shift, pulling you toward the moment when Horus will face Set's storm, eye to eye. The stars above, though hidden by day, seem to lean closer, waiting for the falcon to answer the chaos god's roar. You breathe deeply, the heat filling your lungs, and let the tale unfold, guiding you into the heart of their rivalry. The dunes rise higher now, their crests glowing like molten gold, and you feel the air thicken, charged with a restless energy that makes your skin prickle. You're moving deeper into Set's territory, each step a quiet defiance of his claim, and the sand seems to watch you, shifting in patterns that hint at his power. You catch another glimpse of Set's shadow in the distance, his form flickering like a mirage, now a man, now a beast, always moving, never still. His challenge feels closer, a pressure in your chest, as if the desert itself is urging you to turn back or prove yourself. You imagine Horus out there, his falcon wings slicing through the sky, his eyes locked on this same red haze, feeling the same pull you do now. Set's laughter rolls again, softer this time, but it carries a mocking edge, as if he knows Horus is coming and relishes the fight. You wonder what drives Set not just ambition, but something deeper, a need to shatter the order Horus seeks to build. A gust scatters sand across your path, and you smile faintly, picturing Set probably enjoys stirring up trouble just to see what happens, like a kid kicking over a sandcastle. You pause by a jagged rock, its surface carved with wind-worn lines, and run your fingers over it, feeling the desert's ancient pulse. This is no ordinary place. This is where Set draws his line, daring Horus to cross it and claim Egypt's throne. You look up, the sky a blinding blue, and sense Horus's presence above, his wings a faint hum in the wind, answering Set's taunt with silent resolve. The sand swirls tighter, and you feel the story tightening too, pulling you toward the moment when their rivalry will ignite. You're not just a traveler here, you're a witness to the spark of a battle that will shape Egypt's soul. You step forward, the heat wrapping around you, and let the desert carry you closer to Set's storm, where Horus's vow will be tested. The plain opens wider, the dunes giving way to a flat expanse where the sand glitters like shattered glass, and you feel the tension coil tighter, like a spring about to snap. You're standing now at the heart of Set's challenge, where the air hums with his defiance, and you can almost see him a towering figure in the haze, his eyes burning, his stance a dare. The sand beneath your feet is still, but it feels alive, as if waiting for the first blow of the battle to come. You imagine Horus landing here, his talons sinking into the earth, his gaze meeting Set's without flinching. Set's laughter fades, replaced by a low growl, and you sense the weight of their rivalry, not just a fight for a throne, but a clash of wills that will decide whether Egypt bends to chaos or rises in order. You kneel again, letting the sand sift through your fingers, and notice how it clings to your skin, red and warm, like Set's own breath. You chuckle quietly, thinking how even gods must feel the pressure of a stare-down, each waiting for the other to blink. The sun is at its peak now, its light harsh but steady, and you feel Horus's vow burning brighter, a counterpoint to Set's storm. This plane is where their battle begins, not with blood, but with the silent promise of a fight that will echo through time. You rise, the desert stretching before you, and sense the story shifting, drawing you toward the moment when Horus and Set's rivalry will spark into flame. The air shimmers, and you step forward, pulled by the pulse of their conflict toward the Nile where their battle will take root. You breathe slowly, the sand's heat seeping into you, and let the horizon guide you onward, where the falcon's resolve will meet the storm's fury in a clash that will carve Egypt's history. You're standing by the Nile now, its waters glinting like polished bronze under the midday sun, the air heavy with the scent of reeds and damp earth. The desert's red haze lingers behind you, Set's challenge still echoing in your ears. But here, by the river's edge, a deeper silence settles, broken only by the soft lap of water against the shore. You kneel, your fingers brushing the cool mud, and feel a shadow pass over you, not a cloud, but something heavier, a grief that clings to the air like mist. This is where Osiris fell, where Set's betrayal struck, and you sense the weight of that moment, the spark that set Horus and Set on a path to war. The river flows steadily, but you imagine it slowing, as if mourning the god who once ruled Egypt's green heart. You close your eyes, and the scene shifts. Osiris, tall and serene, his skin like twilight, stands here, unaware of Set's envy coiling like a snake. Set's blow was swift, a blade of treachery, and Osiris's blood mingled with the Nile, a wound that birthed Horus's rage. You open your eyes, the water glinting again, and feel Horus nearby. His falcon form perched on a sycamore branch, his gaze fixed on the river, burning with a sun's fury. The reeds sway, and you hear Set's laughter, faint but sharp, carried on the wind from the desert, a taunt that Horus cannot ignore. You wonder what it's like to carry such grief, to know your father's throne was stolen by your uncle's hand. A fish ripples the surface, and you chuckle softly. Maybe even gods pause to mourn, though Horus's wings seem too restless for tears. You rise, the mud clinging to your knees, and feel the Nile's pulse, steady but charged, as if it holds the memory of Osiris's fall. This is no ordinary riverbank. It's the crucible where Horus's vow took root, where Set's betrayal became a fire that would consume Egypt's peace. You step closer to the water, its coolness brushing your toes, and sense the story tightening, pulling you toward the moment when Horus will turn his grief into action. The sun climbs higher, its light soft on your skin. And you're not just a visitor here, you're a witness to the spark that ignited a divine war. You breathe deeply, the river's scent grounding you, and let the tale carry you forward, toward the shadows where Horus prepares to face Set's crime. The horizon shimmers, and you feel the weight of Osiris's loss, a wound that Horus carries as he steps into the fight for Egypt's soul. The Nile stretches before you, its banks lush with papyrus and lotus, but the air feels heavier now, as if the river itself remembers Osiris's final breath. You walk along the shore, the mud soft underfoot, and notice how the reeds bend, whispering secrets only the gods can hear. You imagine Horus here, not as the soaring falcon, but as a son, his human form kneeling where you stand, his hands gripping the earth as he swears to avenge his father. Set's betrayal wasn't just a murder, it was a theft of order, a shattering of Ma'at, the balance that holds Egypt together. You glance toward the desert, where Set's red sands still swirl, and feel his defiance like a pulse in the distance, daring Horus to rise. The river reflects the sky, a mirror of blue and gold, but you sense a darker current beneath, the pain of Osiris's fall fueling Horus's resolve. You pause by a cluster of lotuses, their petals trembling in the breeze, and picture Set's face, his sharp smile, his eyes like embers, unrepentant even now. You wonder if Horus hesitates, if the weight of his father's death ever feels too heavy. But his cry echoes in your memory, fierce and unyielding. A heron lifts from the water, its wings slicing the air, and you smile faintly, thinking how even gods must feel the pull of vengeance, like a tide they can't resist. You kneel again, letting the water touch your fingers, and feel the Nile's quiet strength, a reminder that Osiris's legacy lives in Horus's fight. This place is sacred, not for its beauty, but for its pain, the spark that turned a family's loss into a battle for Egypt's throne. You rise, the river's hum steady in your ears, and sense Horus moving closer, his resolve hardening like the stone of a temple. The story pulls you deeper, toward the moment when Horus will take his first step against Set, carrying Osiris's shadow into battle. The shore curves gently, leading you to a clearing where the Nile widens, its waters calm but deep, reflecting the sun like a golden eye. You stand here, the air thick with the scent of wet earth, and feel the weight of Osiris's fall settle into you, a grief that's both personal and cosmic. You imagine Horus standing where you are, his falcon eyes scanning the horizon, seeing not just the river, but the chaos. Set has unleashed. The desert looms in the distance, its red haze a constant reminder of Set's challenge, and you sense Horus's anger, not wild, but focused, a blade honed by loss. Set's laughter echoes again, softer now, as if he's watching from afar, amused by the fire he's lit. You wonder what Egypt would be without this betrayal. Would Horus and Set have stood as brothers, not enemies, but Osiris's death has drawn a line, and Horus must cross it to restore what was broken. A breeze stirs the papyrus, and you chuckle quietly, picturing Set probably thinks he's already won, underestimating the falcon's heart. You step into the clearing, the ground firm beneath you, and feel the Nile's pulse sync with your own, as if urging you to follow Horus's path. This is where the battle truly begins, not with blows, but with a son's promise to right a wrong that threatens Egypt's soul. You look up, the sun now softer, its light tracing the river's edge, and sense Horus's presence growing stronger, his vow a flame that will soon meet Set's storm. The story shifts, drawing you toward a sacred grove where Horus prepares, his grief sharpening into purpose. You walk on, the Nile's whisper guiding you, and let the tale unfold, carrying you into the heart of a rivalry that will carve Egypt's history in fire and stone. You've left the Nile's mournful banks behind, its waters fading into a soft murmur as you step into a sacred grove, where sycamore trees cast long, dappled shadows across the earth. The air is cooler here, scented with crushed leaves and the faint smoke of distant offerings, and you feel a quiet reverence settle over you, like a cloak drawn against the desert's heat. You're standing where Horus comes to sharpen his resolve, his grief for Osiris now a blade he hones in silence, and you sense his presence in the rustling leaves, his falcon eyes glinting from the canopy above. The grove is still, save for the whisper of wind through the branches, but it hums with purpose, as if the trees themselves know the weight of Horus's oath. You kneel on the soft earth, your fingers brushing a smooth stone etched with the falcon's wing, and feel the pulse of his determination, steady as the Nile, but fierce as the dawn. Horus is here, not soaring, but grounded, his human form cloaked in linen, his hands tracing the air as if carving his vow against Set's treachery. You imagine him standing where you kneel, his gaze fixed on the horizon where Set's red sands swirl, his heart a furnace of grief and justice. The memory of Osiris's fall lingers, a wound that fuels Horus's fire. But there's no room for sorrow now, only the sharp clarity of a son who must face his uncle's chaos to save Egypt. You glance up, catching the flicker of sunlight through the leaves, and picture Set's mocking laugh, carried on the desert wind, taunting Horus to step from this shadowed grove into the open, where their battle awaits. You wonder if Horus feels the weight of his father's throne, if he doubts his strength against a god who shattered order itself. A leaf falls, brushing your shoulder, and you chuckle softly, thinking how even gods must steel themselves for a fight, like a boxer taping their hands before the ring. The grove feels alive, its shadows a shield for Horus's quiet resolve, preparing him for the clash that will test Egypt's soul. You rise, the earth cool beneath your feet, and sense the story pulling you deeper, toward the moment when Horus will leave this sanctuary to meet Set's challenge. The sun filters through the trees, soft and warm honey, and you're not just a wanderer here, you're a witness to the falcon god's heart hardening into a blade. You step forward, the grove's whisper guiding you, and let the tale carry you toward the Nile, where Horus's oath will face its first true test. You breathe deeply, the scent of sycamore grounding you, and feel the weight of Horus's vow, a promise that burns brighter as you move closer to the battle's edge. The grove deepens around you, the sycamores growing denser, their branches weaving a canopy that filters light into soft green patches on the ground. You walk slowly, your footsteps muffled by the fallen leaves, and feel the air grow heavier, charged with the intensity of Horus's focus. You're moving deeper, each step echoing the falcon god's quiet preparation, and you sense him nearby, his form shifting between man and bird, his wings folded but restless. You pause by a small altar, its stone worn smooth by countless hands, and notice a single falcon feather resting there, its edges gilded by a stray beam of sunlight. You touch it lightly, feeling its softness, and feel a surge of Horus's resolve, as if his oath is woven into the feather's very strands. He's not mourning Osiris here. He's channeling that grief into a sharpening his purpose, a blade forged in the shadows to cut through Set's chaos. You imagine him standing before the altar, his eyes like polished obsidian, seeing not just the grove but the battlefield where Set waits. The desert wind stirs, carrying a faint echo of Set's laughter, sharp and you sense defiant, and you wonder how Horus resists the urge to soar out now, to meet his uncle's taunt with talons drawn. You wonder if he feels the weight of Egypt's hopes, a land yearning for the order he promises to restore. A bird calls above, its cry sharp and fleeting, and you smile faintly, picturing it Horus probably wishing wishes he could loose his anger. But his silence is his strength, a disciplined fire. You kneel again, the altar, your fingers tracing the stone's curves, and feel the grove's pulse, a quiet rhythm that mirrors Horus's heart. This is no ordinary place. It's a forge where grief becomes vengeance, where a god prepares to face the storm. You're not just a visitor here, but the witness to Horus's transformation. His vow taking shape. You rise, the shadows shifting as you move, and you feel the story tightening, pulling you toward the Nile where Horus will soon confront Set. You step forward, the grove's cool air brushing your skin, and let the tale draw you deeper into the fight for Egypt's soul. The grove opens slightly, revealing a grove clearing where the sunlight spills in, bathing the earth in a warm, golden light that feels almost sacred. You're standing now at the edge of Horus's sanctuary, where his resolve is nearly complete, and you feel the weight of his vow like a blade, sharp and ready. You imagine Horus here, his falcon form perched on a low branch, his gaze piercing the horizon, seeing Set's red sands in the distance, their chaos a challenge he's ready to meet. The air hums with his presence, a quiet power that fills the grove, and you sense the tension building, like the moment before a storm breaks. You notice the ground beneath you, etched with faint carvings of falcons and storms, as if the earth itself records their rivalry. You wonder if Horus feels fear, facing a god who killed his father. But his silence speaks of courage, a son's love turned to steel. Set's laughter echoes again, closer now, a taunt that Horus will soon answer. You chuckle quietly, thinking how even gods must feel the itch of a grudge, like a splinter you can't ignore. You step into the clearing, the sunlight warm on your face, and feel Horus's oath settle into you. A promise of justice that's as fierce as it is calm. This is where Horus's blade is forged not of metal, but of will, ready to meet Set's storm. You look toward the Nile, its waters glinting through the trees, and sense the story shifting, drawing you toward the moment when Horus will step from these shadows to face Set's challenge. You walk on, the grove's whisper fading, and let the tale pull you forward, toward the river where the falcon's vow will meet the storm's defiance in a clash that will shape Egypt's history. You breathe slowly, the scent of leaves lingering, and feel the desert's pulse, guiding you into the heart of their battle. You step from the shadowed grove, the sycamore's whispers fading as you find yourself on the Nile's bank, where the river glints like molten silver under a sky heavy with gathering clouds. The air is thick with the scent of wet reeds and clay, and you feel a charge in the atmosphere, like the hush before lightning strikes. You're standing on a narrow strip of earth, the water lapping gently at your toes, and you sense the pulse of something momentous. Horus and Set are here, their rivalry no longer a vow or a taunt, but a living force, ready to erupt. You glance across the river, where a reed boat sways, its prow cutting the current. And there, in the haze, poetic, you see Horus, his falcon form sharp against the sky, wings spread as he descends to the water's edge. His eyes burn with the fire of his oath, honed in the grove, and you feel his resolve ripple through the air, steady as the Nile's flow. On the opposite bank, Set emerges, his form angular and restless, red sand trailing him like a cloak, his laughter replaced by a low growl that makes the reeds tremble. You're not just watching now, you're caught in the moment when their battle begins. The first clash that will test Horus's blade against Set's storm. The river churns, as if sensing their intent, and you notice the boat rocking harder, its ropes straining. Horus shifts, his form blurring into a man, spear in hand, his stance unyielding, while Set, beast-like, paws the earth, his eyes glinting with defiance. They don't speak, but their gazes lock. A silent challenge that makes your heart quicken. You wonder if Horus feels the weight of Osiris's death here, on the river where his father fell, or if Set relishes the chance to crush his nephew's claim. A fish leaps, breaking the surface, and you chuckle softly, thinking how even gods must feel the tension of a first blow. Like boxers circling the ring, the clouds darken, casting shadows on the water, and you kneel, your fingers brushing the damp earth, feeling the Nile's pulse sync with the gods' standoff. This is no ordinary riverbank. It's a battlefield where Egypt's fate will be shaped, where Horus's justice meets Set's chaos. You rise, the air humming, and sense the story tightening, pulling you into the heart of their duel. The wind stirs, sharp with the scent of rain, and you're a witness to the spark of a war that will carve Egypt's soul. You step closer to the water, its coolness grounding you, and let the tale unfold, carrying you into the clash that will ripple through history. You breathe deeply, the river's breath in your lungs, and feel the gods' power as they prepare to strike. The Nile widens before you, its current stronger now, swirling with eddies that mirror the tension between Horus and Set. You're standing on the bank, the reeds brushing your legs, and you see them clearly: Horus, his spear gleaming, his falcon eyes unblinking, and Set, his form shifting, now man, now beast, his claws scoring the earth. The boat between them rocks violently, as if caught in their wills. And you feel the air crackle, the clouds above pressing lower. They move, sudden and swift, Horus lunging across the water, his spear a streak of light. While Set counters, his body twisting, a storm of red sand erupting around him. The river roars, waves crashing against the bank, and you flinch as their clash sends a spray of water into the air. They're shape-shifting now. Horus a falcon, talons flashing, Set a snarling beast, jaws snapping, and the Nile churns, its surface a mirror of their fury. You wonder how Horus keeps his focus, his father's death a fire in his heart, while Set fights with wild abandon, as if chaos is his only law. Each blow shakes the earth, and you feel the ground tremble beneath you, the river's pulse quickening. A reed snaps nearby, and you smile faintly, picturing how even gods must tire, though neither shows it, their pride too fierce to yield. You step back, the water lapping higher, and notice the boat tilting, its ropes fraying, a fragile barrier between their powers. This is more than a fight, it's a test. Horus proving his right to Osiris's throne, Set defying the order it represents. You kneel again, your hands sinking into the mud, and feel the Nile's strength, a witness to their struggle. The story pulls you deeper, toward the moment when their duel will shift, leaving marks on Egypt's heart. You rise, the clouds now spitting rain, and sense Horus's spear finding its mark, a fleeting victory that Set's storm will challenge. You're not just a spectator, but a part of this divine dance, bound to its rhythm. You move along the bank, the river's roar filling your ears, and let the clash unfold. Horus and Set's forms blurring as the Nile bears their weight. The rain falls harder now, a soft curtain that blurs the Nile's banks. But it doesn't dim the intensity of Horus and Set's duel. Their clash a fire that lights the river's heart. You're standing at the water's edge, the mud slick beneath your feet, and you see them through the mist. Horus, his falcon form soaring, diving with talons outstretched by... and Set, his beastly shape lunging, jaws of that snapping at air. The boat has splintered, its wreckage floating past, a sign of the chaos their fight unleashes. Horus lands a blow, his wing slicing Set's flank, drawing a shimmer of ichor that stains the water. But Set retaliates, his claws raking the air, forcing Horus to twist away. The river surges, waves crashing over the bank, and you feel the spray on your face, cold and sharp, grounding you in this moment. You wonder if Horus feels the strain, his oath to Osiris a heavy crown, or if Set thrives on this chaos, his defiance a fuel that never fades. The clouds rumble, lightning flickering, and you sense the Nile itself straining, its waters torn between the gods' wills. You chuckle quietly, thinking how even gods must feel the ache of a drawn-out fight, like runners pushing through the final lap, each refusing to falter. You step onto a flat stone, its surface slick, and feel the pulse of their battle, a rhythm that echoes Egypt's heartbeat. This clash is a turning point. Horus proving he can meet Set's storm, but not yet overcoming it. Set's defiance still a force that could break the falcon's wings. You look up, the rain softening your vision, and sense the gods' struggle pausing, their forms pulling apart, Horus hovering, Set snarling from the shore. The story shifts, drawing you toward a celestial council where their rivalry will be weighed. The Nile's waters, a witness to their first true clash. You walk on, the rain a steady rhythm on your skin, and let the tale carry you, pulling you deeper, toward the moment when Horus's blade will face Set's chaos again. You breathe slowly, the Nile's scent sharp and alive, and feel the river's pulse. guiding you into the heart of their war, where Egypt's history will be forged in fire and foam. You're still by the Nile, the rain now a gentle veil, softening the edges of the world as Horus and Set's clash lingers in the air, their forms momentarily still, like statues carved from storm and sky. You stand on the slick stone, the river's current tugging at your senses, and feel the weight of their duel, not just a fight, but a moment that binds Egypt's past to its future. You imagine Horus, his falcon wings dripping with rain, his breath steady but heavy, his spear still raised as he watches Set across the water. Set's form shifts again, his beastly shape melting into a man's, his eyes like embers in the mist, his stance a challenge that dares Horus to strike again. The Nile seems to hold its breath, its waters calmer now, reflecting the clouded sky in fractured silver. You wonder what Horus sees in Set's gaze: envy, rage, or something deeper, a god who cannot bend to the order Horus seeks. The rain patters on your shoulders, and you feel the riverbank's pulse, as if the earth itself is a witness to this divine struggle. You step closer to the water, its coolness brushing your ankles, and notice the wreckage of the reed boat drifting downstream, its splintered frame a silent testament to the force of their clash. You chuckle softly, picturing how even gods must feel the sting of a near miss, like fencers pausing to catch their breath. The clouds part slightly, a sliver of sunlight breaking through, and you sense Horus's resolve burning brighter, his oath to Osiris, a flame that no storm can quench. Set's growl rumbles again, low and defiant, and you imagine him pacing the opposite bank, his claws scoring the mud, his heart a furnace of rebellion. This duel is more than a test of strength. It's a forging of Egypt's soul, where Horus's justice must prove itself against Set's chaos. You kneel, your hands sinking into the wet earth, and feel the Nile's rhythm, steady but fierce, as if urging Horus to press on. The rain slows, each drop a note in the river's song. And you're not just a bystander, you're woven into the story, your breath sinking with the gods' struggle. You rise, the air clearing, and sense the story pulling you forward toward a celestial hall where their rivalry will be judged. But for now, you linger, caught in the echo of their first clash. The Nile's bank stretches before you, its curves gentle but unyielding, like the arc of Horus's resolve. You walk slowly, the rain now a faint drizzle, the ground soft and yielding underfoot, and feel the tension of the duel settle into a quiet hum, as if the river is whispering its verdict. You imagine Horus standing where you walk, his spear lowered but his eyes never leaving Set, who prowls the far bank, his form flickering in the mist. The river reflects their standoff, Horus's silhouette sharp and steady, Set's jagged and restless, and you sense the weight of their rivalry, not just a fight for a throne, but a battle for Egypt's heart, for the balance that holds the land together. You pause by a cluster of papyrus, their stalks swaying in the breeze, and notice how the water ripples, as if carrying the echo of their blows. You wonder if Horus feels his father's shadow here, Osiris's death a wound that sharpens his every move, or if Set sees only the thrill of defiance, a god who lives to break what others build. A heron glides past, its wings silent, and you smile faintly, thinking how even gods must pause to measure their rival, like chess players studying the board. You kneel again, letting the water touch your fingers and feel the Nile's pulse, a rhythm that binds Horus and Set to this moment, to Egypt itself. This bank is sacred, not for its beauty, but for its role as the stage where their war took its first steps, where Horus's blade met Set's storm in a clash that shook the heavens. You rise, the drizzle fading, and sense Horus preparing to move, his wings stirring the air, his heart set on the next challenge. The story shifts, drawing you toward a divine council where their struggle will be weighed. But you linger a moment longer, the Nile's whisper grounding you. You step forward, the river's scent sharp in your lungs, and let the tale carry you deeper toward the moment when Horus and Set's rivalry will flare again. The Nile curves gently, leading you to a quieter stretch where the water slows, its surface smooth as glass, reflecting the clearing sky above. You are standing now where the clash has paused, the air still charged but softer, as if the river is catching its breath. You see Horus in the distance, his falcon form perched on a low rock, his eyes locked on Set, who stands across the water, his form solidifying into a man's, his chest heaving from the duel. The rain has stopped, leaving the world glistening, and you feel the weight of their first encounter, a moment that has tested Horus's strength and Set's defiance without crowning a victor. You wonder if Horus feels the strain of his oath, the need to prove himself not just to Set, but to Egypt, or if Set relishes the stalemate, his chaos thriving in the uncertainty. The Nile's current tugs at the reeds, and you notice a single lotus floating past, its petals bruised but unbroken, a quiet symbol of the land's resilience. You chuckle quietly, picturing how even gods must feel the ache of a fight with no end in sight, like marathon runners pacing themselves for the long road. You step onto a dry patch of earth, its warmth seeping through your soles, and feel the river's pulse sync with your own, as if urging you to follow Horus's path. This is where the battle took shape, where Horus's vow became action, where Set's storm met its first resistance. You look up, the clouds parting to reveal a sliver of stars, and sense Horus's resolve hardening, his wings ready to carry him to the next challenge. The story pulls you forward, toward a celestial hall where the gods will judge their rivalry. But you pause, the Nile's calm holding you a moment longer. You walk on, the river's whisper fading, and let the tale draw you deeper, toward the moment when Horus and Set's clash will reignite, carving Egypt's history in light and shadow. You breathe slowly, the air clean and sharp, and feel the Nile's pulse, guiding you into the heart of their wars. You've left the Nile's rain-soaked banks, the echo of Horus and Set's clash fading into the river's murmur. And now you stand in a vast, starlit hall, its walls carved from shimmering obsidian that pulses with the light of 1,000 constellations. The air is cool, scented with frankincense and the faint hum of divine power, and you feel a weight settle over you, as if the heavens themselves are watching. You're in the celestial council, where the gods gather to judge Horus and Set's rivalry. And you sense the tension, like a thread pulled taut, ready to snap. You step forward, your feet silent on the polished floor, and see Horus before you, his falcon form radiant, his wings folded but trembling with restrained fury. His eyes fixed on the center of the hall. Across from him stands Set, his form angular and restless, red sand dusting his shoulders, his gaze defiant, a storm barely contained. You're not just an observer now, you're caught in the moment when their battle moves from the Nile's waters to the gods' judgment, where Egypt's throne hangs in the balance. The hall hums, its walls etched with glyphs of falcons and storms, and you notice the other gods seated in a circle, their forms shadowy but potent, their voices a low chorus that vibrates in your chest. Horus speaks, his voice clear, a plea for justice. His father's death a wound he lays bare, and you feel the weight of Osiris's fall ripple through the council. A grief that demands order. Set counters, his words sharp. A challenge that mocks Horus's claim, insisting chaos is his right. And you sense the gods waver, their unity fracturing under the strain. You wonder if Horus feels the pressure, his oath tested not by blows but by words, or if Set thrives in this discord, his rebellion a fire that feeds on doubt. A star pulses above, casting light on Horus's wings, and you chuckle softly, thinking how even gods must face a tough crowd, like debaters in a cosmic courtroom. You kneel, your fingers brushing the cold floor, and feel the hall's pulse, a rhythm that mirrors the struggle for Egypt's soul. This is no ordinary council. It's a crucible where Horus and Set's rivalry splits the divine order, threatening to unravel Ma'at itself. You rise, the air tingling, and sense the story tightening, pulling you toward the moment when their conflict will deepen, wounding the falcon's heart. The incense curls around you, grounding you, and you're a witness to a judgment that will shape Egypt's fate. You step closer to the circle, the gods' voices rising, and let the tale unfold, carrying you into the heart of their divine dispute. You breathe deeply, the starlight soft on your skin, and feel the council's weight, guiding you toward the next spark in Horus and Set's war. The hall stretches endlessly, its obsidian walls reflecting the gods' forms like mirrors. And you move deeper, your steps echoing faintly as you draw closer to Horus and Set, their standoff a fire that lights the council's heart. You see Horus clearly now, his falcon eyes burning, his voice steady as he recounts Set's betrayal, each word a stone laid in his claim to Osiris's throne. You feel his resolve, forged in the grove and tested by the Nile. But there's a strain in his stance, as if he knows words alone may not sway the gods. Set paces, his movements sharp, his laughter replaced by a snarl. And you sense his defiance growing, a storm that seeks to drown Horus's plea. He speaks of strength, of a world where chaos rules, and you notice the gods lean forward, some nodding, others frowning, their council split by the weight of his words. You wonder if Horus feels the tide turning, if he fears the gods' doubt will rob him of his father's legacy, or if Set believes he can fracture their will, bending the heavens to his storm. The air grows heavier, the incense thicker, and you pause by a pillar, its surface carved with scenes of their Nile duel, a reminder of the clash that brought them here. You run your fingers over the glyphs, feeling their edges, and smile faintly, picturing how even gods must sweat under scrutiny, like students defending a thesis. The council's voices rise, a chorus of debate that shakes the stars, and you sense the fracture widening, the gods torn between Horus's justice and Set's rebellion. This is more than a trial. It's a test of Egypt's balance, where the falcon's claim must hold against the storm's chaos. You step closer, the floor cool beneath you, and feel Horus's gaze flicker toward you, as if seeking strength from the mortal world. The story pulls you deeper, toward the moment when Set's defiance will strike a deeper wound, testing Horus's heart. You move on, the hall's light shifting, and let the tale draw you forward, toward the clash that will mark Egypt's divine order. The circle of gods tightens, their forms glowing brighter, and you're standing now at the edge of their council, the air alive with the hum of their power, like a storm held in check. Horus stands tall, his wings catching the starlight, his voice rising as he calls on Ma'at, the order that binds Egypt, urging the gods to honor his father's throne. You feel his passion, a fire that burns without faltering. But you notice the gods' faces, some stern, some wavering, their unity crumbling under Set's influence. Set steps forward, his form almost liquid, red sand swirling at his feet, and his words cut like a blade, accusing Horus of weakness, claiming the throne by right of power. You sense the council's fracture deepen, a rift that threatens to tear Egypt's soul, and you wonder if Horus feels the weight of their doubt, like a crown too heavy to bear, or if Set sees victory in their division, his own chaos a weapon sharper than any spear. The obsidian walls pulse, reflecting their voices, and you notice a faint crack in the stone, as if the hall itself strains under their rivalry. You kneel again, the floor's cold seeping into you, and feel the pulse of their struggle, a rhythm that echoes the Nile's churned waters. You chuckle quietly, thinking how even gods must navigate a hung jury, their fates as tangled as any mortals. The starlight dims, casting long shadows, and you sense Horus's resolve hardening, his heart steeled for the next blow. Set will deal. This is the moment when their battle shifts. The councils fracture a wound that will push their rivalry to a darker edge. Testing Horus's strength, you rise, the incense curling through the air, and sense the story moving, drawing you toward a sacred grove where Set's defiance will strike Horus's heart. You step from the circle, the gods' voices fading, and let the tale carry you deeper toward the moment when the falcon's claim will face its deepest trial. You walk on, the starlit hall dissolving, and breathe slowly, the scent of frankincense lingering, feeling the council's pulse guide you into the heart of Horus and Set's war, where Egypt's history will be forged in light and shadow. You've left the starlit council behind, its fractured voices fading into the cosmic hum, and now you stand in a sacred grove where moonlight filters through ancient sycamores, casting silver shadows on the earth. The air is heavy with the scent of cedar incense and damp leaves, and you feel a tension coiling, like a bowstring drawn taut. You're deep in the heart of Horus and Set's rivalry, where words have given way to a darker intent, and you sense the weight of a moment that will wound Egypt's soul. You step forward, your feet sinking into the soft soil, and see Horus before you, his falcon form perched on a low branch, his wings gleaming under the moon, his eyes burning with the resolve forged by the council's doubt. Across the grove, Set emerges from the shadows, his form angular and predatory, red sand swirling at his feet, his gaze a spark that promises chaos. You're not just a witness. Now you're caught in the instant when Set's defiance turns brutal. A strike that will test Horus's strength and shake the land. The grove is silent, save for the rustle of leaves, but it pulses with their rivalry, the air thick with unspoken rage. Horus shift, his wings spreading, ready to soar. But Set moves first, swift as a storm, his claws flashing in the moonlight, aimed not at Horus's body but at his sacred wing. You flinch, your breath catching, as Set's strike lands, tearing through feathers, a wound that sends Horus reeling, his cry sharp and piercing, echoing through the grove. The wing, a symbol of his divine sight and strength, hangs limp, and you feel the pain ripple through the air, as if Egypt itself trembles. You wonder if Horus feels fear, his father's throne slipping further away, or if Set relishes this moment. His chaos cutting deeper than ever, a leaf falls, brushing your shoulder, and you chuckle softly, thinking how even gods must feel the sting of a cheap shot, like a brawler caught off guard. You kneel, your fingers tracing the earth where Horus's feathers lie, their edges glinting, and feel the grove's pulse, a rhythm broken by Set's strike. This is no ordinary place. It's a battlefield where Set's rebellion wounds Horus's heart, pushing their war to a new edge. You rise, the moonlight cool on your skin, and sense the story tightening, pulling you toward the moment when Horus will seek healing. His resolve tested by this loss, the incense curls around you, grounding you, and you're bound to this divine wound, a mark that will shape Egypt's fate. You step closer to Horus, his cry still echoing, and let the tale unfold, carrying you into the heart of their struggle. You breathe deeply, the grove's scent sharp in your lungs, and feel the weight of Set's strike, guiding you toward the falcon's next step. The grove deepens, the sycamores closing in, their branches weaving a canopy that dims the moonlight, and you move closer to Horus, his form now human, kneeling where you stood, his hand pressed to his wounded wing. You see the pain in his eyes, not just physical but divine, a god diminished by Set's treachery. And you sense the weight of his oath to Osiris, now heavier with this wound. Set lingers at the grove's edge, his form flickering, his laughter low and mocking, as if he knows this strike has shifted their battle, giving chaos the upper hand. You wonder if Horus doubts himself, if the council's fracture and this wound make his father's throne feel impossibly distant, or if Set believes he's won. his rebellion a blade that cuts deeper than any spear. The air grows still, the leaves unmoving, and you pause by a small pool, its surface reflecting the moon in fractured silver. Like Horus's broken strength, you kneel again, your fingers brushing the water, and feel a ripple. As if the grove mourns with Horus, its silence a prayer for his recovery. You imagine Set pacing beyond the trees, his claws still gleaming, his heart a furnace of defiance, certain that this wound will end Horus's claim. A nightbird calls, its note soft but clear, and you smile faintly, picturing how even gods must regroup after a hit, like a fighter catching their breath in the corner. You rise, the pool's reflection steadying you, and sense Horus's resolve stirring, a faint spark beneath his pain, a vow that refuses to break. This grove is sacred, not for its beauty, but for its role as the stage where Set's strike deepens their war, testing Horus's will. You step toward Horus, his form glowing faintly, and feel the story pulling you forward, toward a shrine where his wing will be healed, his strength renewed. You move on, the grove's shadows shifting, and let the tale draw you deeper, toward the moment when Horus will rise again, carrying Egypt's hopes against Set's chaos. The grove opens slightly, revealing a clearing where the moonlight spills in, bathing the earth in a soft, silver glow that feels almost healing. You're standing now where Horus gathers himself, his human form slumped against a sycamore, his wounded wing hidden beneath his cloak, his breath uneven but determined. You see Set's shadow retreating, his laughter fading into the desert beyond. But his strike lingers, a wound that marks this grove as a turning point in their war. You wonder if Horus feels the weight of Egypt's eyes, a land yearning for the order he promises, or if Set's chaos feels unstoppable, a storm that could tear the falcon's wings forever. The clearing is quiet, save for the drip of dew from the leaves, and you notice a single feather on the ground, its tip stained with ichor, a relic of Horus's pain. You kneel, lifting the feather, its softness surprising, and feel the pulse of Horus's heart, a rhythm that refuses to falter. Even now, you imagine him rising, his eyes lifting to the moon, seeing not just his wound, but the path ahead. A vow to reclaim his strength and face Set again. Set's presence still lingers. A faint red haze at the grove's edge, a reminder that his chaos will not rest. You chuckle quietly, thinking how even gods must lick their wounds, like warriors nursing a bruise before the next round. You rise in the feather light in your hand, and sense Horus's resolve growing. A fire rekindled in the moonlight, ready to seek healing and return to the fight. This is where their battle deepens. Horus's wound a mark that will shape his path. Set's strike a challenge that will echo through Egypt's soul. You step from the clearing, the grove's whisper returning, and sense the story shifting, drawing you toward a moonlit shrine where Horus's wing will be restored. You walk on, the moonlight guiding you, and let the tale pull you deeper, toward the moment when the falcon's strength will rise against Set's storm, carving Egypt's history in light and pain. You breathe slowly, the scent of cedar lingering, and feel the grove's pulse, guiding you into the heart of their war, where Horus's wound will become his power. You've left the sacred grove behind, its wounded moonlight fading into whispers, and now you stand in a moonlit shrine, carved into a cliff where the desert meets the Nile's quiet edge, the air soft with the scent of lotus and burning myrrh. The stone walls glow faintly, etched with glyphs of falcons and stars, and you feel a gentle calm settle over you, like a breath held in reverence. You're standing where Horus seeks healing, his wing torn by Set's strike, and you sense the pulse of his resolve, fragile but unbroken, ready to be forged anew. You step forward, your feet brushing the cool sandstone floor, and see Horus before you, his human form kneeling at a low altar, his wounded wing hidden beneath a linen cloak, his eyes reflecting the moon's silver light. The shrine is still, save for the flicker of a single flame in a bronze brazier, but it hums with a quiet power, as if the stones themselves cradle Horus's pain. You kneel beside him, your fingers tracing a glyph of a falcon's eye, and feel the weight of his wound, not just a tear in his wing, but a scar on Egypt's hope, a challenge to his oath against Set's chaos. You imagine him here, his breath steady but heavy, his heart wrestling with the council's doubt and Set's brutal strike, yet burning with a son's vow to reclaim Osiris's throne. The moonlight spills through a narrow window, bathing Horus in a soft glow, and you sense his strength stirring, like a river finding its course after a storm. You wonder if he feels the weight of his father's shadow, urging him to rise, or if Set's laughter, faint in the desert beyond, taunts him even now. A breeze carries the scent of myrrh, and you chuckle softly, thinking how even gods must pause to mend, like a warrior stitching a wound before battle. You rise, the shrine's pulse syncing with your own, and feel the story tightening, pulling you toward the moment when Horus's renewed strength will face Set's storm again. The flame flickers, casting shadows that dance like wings, and you're not just a visitor, you're bound to Horus's renewal, a moment that will shape Egypt's soul. You step closer to the altar, the moonlight cool on your skin, and let the tale unfold, carrying you into the heart of his healing. You breathe deeply, the shrine's scent grounding you, and feel the weight of Horus's wound lifting, guiding you toward the falcon's next stand against Set's chaos. The shrine deepens around you, its walls closing in, the glyphs glowing brighter as if whispering secrets of restoration. You move closer to Horus, his form radiant despite his pain, his hands pressed to the altar, where a small pool of water reflects the moon like a mirror. You see the wound clearly now, his wing matted with ichor, feathers broken. Yet his eyes hold a fire that refuses to dim, a vow that Set's strike cannot shatter. You imagine him tracing the glyphs, each one a prayer for strength, his heart channeling Osiris's loss into a quiet power that fills the shrine. The air grows warmer, the myrrh thicker, and you sense a shift, as if the moonlight itself is weaving his wing whole. You wonder if Horus feels hope, his strength returning like dawn after a long night, or if Set's shadow lingers, a red haze beyond the cliff. Plotting his next move, you pause by the pool, its surface rippling faintly, and notice a single feather floating there, its edges catching the light, a sign of Horus's renewal. You kneel again, your fingers brushing the water, and feel a warmth, as if the shrine's pulse is Horus's own, beating stronger with each breath. You smile faintly, picturing how even gods must lean on faith, like a tired traveler trusting the stars to guide them home. The brazier's flame steadies, its light tracing Horus's form, and you sense his wing lifting, feathers smoothing, as if the moon itself stitches his wound. This is more than healing, it's a forging of Horus's will, a moment when his pain becomes power, ready to face Set's chaos. You rise to the shrine's glow enveloping you, and feel Horus's resolve surge, a falcon ready to soar. The story pulls you forward, toward a golden altar where their rivalry will face its final trial. But you linger, caught in the quiet strength of this moment. You step toward the shrine's entrance, the Nile glinting below, and let the tale draw you deeper, toward the clash that will crown Egypt's king. The shrine opens to the cliff's edge, where the Nile stretches like a silver thread under the moon, its waters whispering of Horus's renewal and Set's distant storm. You stand now where Horus rises, his wing restored, its feathers catching the moonlight like polished blades, his form shifting back to falcon, eyes blazing with a clarity that cuts through the night. You feel his strength, a fire rekindled, his oath to Osiris burning brighter than Set's defiance. You imagine him spreading his wings, testing their power. Each beat a promise to face Set again, to claim the throne that chaos seeks to shatter. The desert beyond the cliff is quiet, but you sense Set's presence, a faint red glow on the horizon, his rebellion undimmed by Horus's healing. You wonder if Horus feels the weight of Egypt's hopes, a land yearning for the order he embodies, or if Set's chaos feels closer now, a storm that could test even this renewed strength. The myrrh lingers, its scent mingling with the Nile's breath, and you chuckle quietly, thinking how even gods must savor a comeback, like a fighter stepping back into the ring, scars and all. You kneel one last time, your hand resting on the shrine's threshold, and feel the pulse of Horus's heart, a rhythm that carries Egypt's soul. This shrine is sacred, not for its stone, but for its role as the crucible where Horus's wound became his power, where Set's strike was answered with resilience. You rise, the moonlight fading as dawn approaches, and sense Horus taking flight, his wings a shadow over the Nile, ready for the final stand. The story shifts, drawing you toward a golden altar where Horus and Set's war will reach its climax. The throne's fate sealed. You walk on, the shrine's glow lingering, and let the tale pull you deeper toward the moment when the falcon's renewed strength will meet the storm's fury, carving Egypt's history in light and resolve. You breathe slowly, the Nile's scent sharp in your lungs, and feel the desert's pulse, guiding you into the heart of their war, where Horus's renewal will face Set's unyielding chaos. You've left the moonlit shrine behind, its healing glow fading into the Nile's whisper. And now, you stand before a golden altar, set atop a vast plateau where the desert meets the sky. The air sharp with the scent of sandalwood and sun-warmed stone. The horizon burns with the first light of dawn, casting long shadows that dance like falcons in storms. And you feel a pulse in the earth, steady but fierce, as if Egypt itself awaits the verdict of Horus and Set's war. You're at the heart of their rivalry, where the throne of the gods will be decided, and you sense the weight of this moment, a trial that will crown a king and shape a nation's soul. You step forward, your feet brushing the smooth sandstone, and see Horus before you, his falcon form radiant, wings spread wide, their feathers gleaming from the shrine's renewal, his eyes locked on the altar with unyielding resolve. Across the plateau, Set emerges, his form angular and restless, red sand swirling at his feet, his gaze a spark of defiance that refuses to bow. You're not just a witness now, you're caught in the final clash, where their battle will end and Egypt's fate will be sealed. The altar glows, its surface etched with glyphs of crowns and scales, and you feel the god's presence, a silent council watching from the stars above. Horus steps forward, his voice a clear cry, claiming Osiris's throne with the strength forged through grief, duel, and healing. And you sense his oath, a fire that burns for justice. Set counters, his growl low and sharp, his chaos a challenge to Horus's order, insisting the throne is his by right of power. You wonder if Horus feels the weight of this moment, his father's legacy resting on his wings, or if Set believes his storm can still shatter the falcon's claim. A breeze stirs, carrying the scent of the desert, and you chuckle softly, thinking how even gods must feel the pressure of a final stand, like duelists at dawn, each knowing only one will walk away. You kneel, your fingers tracing the altar's edge, and feel its pulse, a rhythm that mirrors Egypt's heartbeat, ready to crown its king. This is no ordinary plateau. It's a crucible where Horus and Set's war will find its end, where order and chaos will clash one last time. You rise, the dawn's light warm on your skin, and sense the story tightening, pulling you toward the verdict that will unify Egypt. The sandalwood curls around you, grounding you, and you're bound to this divine trial, a moment that will echo through history. You step closer to the altar, the gods' silence heavy, and let the tale unfold, carrying you into the heart of their final clash. You breathe deeply, the desert's pulse in your lungs, and feel the weight of Horus's claim, guiding you toward the throne's resolution. The plateau stretches wide, its sandstone glowing under the rising sun, and you move closer to Horus and Set, their forms a study in contrast. Horus steady, his wings a shield of light, Set restless, his red sand a storm that threatens to engulf the altar. The trial begins, not with blows, but with a divine contest, a test of will and truth. And you see Horus raise his spear, its tip catching the dawn, a symbol of his right to rule. Set responds, his claws flexing, his voice a snarl that shakes the air, claiming strength over justice, chaos over order. The altar hums, its glyphs flaring, and you feel the god's judgment pressing down. Their silent verdict a weight that could tip either way. Horus moves first, his wings beating, soaring above the plateau, his cry a plea to the heavens. And you sense his heart, forged in the Nile's duels and the shrine's renewal, now bared before the god. Thus Set counters, his form shifting man, beast. Storm his power a whirlwind that scatters sand across the altar, a challenge that dares the gods to choose chaos. You wonder if Horus feels the strain, his every trial leading to this moment, or if Set's defiance burns brighter, a god who thrives on rebellion. The sun climbs higher, its light harsh but clear, and you pause by a carved stone, its surface worn with scenes of their war, a reminder of the wounds and triumphs that brought them here. You run your fingers over it, feeling its warmth, and smile faintly, picturing how even gods must hold their breath, like athletes at the finish line, waiting for the call. The contest shifts, Horus landing before the altar, his spear planted firm, Set circling, his storm subsiding but not spent. You kneel again, the sandstone grounding you, and feel the pulse of their struggle, a rhythm that will crown Egypt's king. This is more than a trial. It's the forging of a nation, where Horus's order must prove stronger than Set's chaos. You rise, the dawn's glow enveloping you, and sense Horus's claim strengthening, the gods' silence breaking as their verdict nears. The story pulls you deeper, toward the moment when the throne will be decided. Egypt's soul unified under one god's reign. The altar stands alone now, the plateau quiet, save for the whisper of wind across the sand. And you're standing at the heart of the trial, where Horus and Set face their final reckoning. Their forms still but charged, like embers ready to flare. You see Horus clearly, his wings folded, his spear gleaming, his eyes reflecting the sun's fire, a god who has carried Osiris's grief through duels, wounds, and renewal to stand here, unyielding. Set paces, his form solidifying into a man's, his red sand settling, but his gaze burns, a defiance that refuses to kneel. Even now. The god's verdict comes, a voice like thunder rolling from the sky, declaring Horus the rightful king. His claim to Osiris's throne upheld, his order the balance Egypt craves. You feel the plateau tremble, as if the earth itself exhales, and see Horus's wings lift, a gesture of triumph, while Set bows his head, his chaos subdued but not erased, his role now bound to the desert's edge. You wonder if Horus feels relief, his father's legacy secured, or if Set harbors a spark of rebellion, a storm that will linger in Egypt's shadows. The sun blazes, its light bathing the altar, and you notice a single feather fall from Horus's wing, landing on the stone, a symbol of his victory. You chuckle quietly, thinking how even gods must savor a hard-won win, like a climber reaching the peak after a grueling ascent. You kneel one last time, your hand resting on the altar, and feel Egypt's pulse, a rhythm of unity forged in this trial. This is where Horus and Set's war ends, not in destruction but in balance. Horus's reign a light that holds Set's chaos in check. You rise, the dawn's warmth steadying you, and sense the story shifting, drawing you toward a unified Egypt, where their rivalry's legacy will endure. You step from the altar, the desert stretching wide, and let the tale carry you deeper, toward the moment when Horus's reign will shape Egypt's soul. Set's storm, a quiet echo. You walk on, the sun's light guiding you, and breathe slowly, the scent of sandalwood lingering, feeling the throne's verdict pulse through you, into the heart of a nation reborn. You've left the golden altar's radiant dawn behind, its verdict echoing like a bell across the desert, and now you walk through a unified Egypt, where the Nile glints under a midday sun, its banks lush with papyrus and the hum of life. The air is warm, scented with blooming lotus and the faint dust of well-trodden paths, and you feel a quiet harmony settle over you, like a river finding its steady course. You're standing in the aftermath of Horus and Set's war, where Horus reigns as king, his falcon wings casting a protective shadow over Egypt. And Set's chaos lingers, subdued but ever present, a whisper in the desert's red sands. You step forward, your feet brushing the soft earth, and see Horus above, his form soaring, eyes scanning the land with a vigilance that speaks of hard-won peace. The desert stretches to your right, where Set's presence flickers, a faint storm on the horizon. His role now bound to the edges of order, a rival whose defiance shaped Horus's triumph. You're not just a traveler, now you're woven into the legacy of their rivalry, a balance that holds Egypt's soul, forged in their clash and sealed by the gods' verdict. You pause by the Nile, its waters reflecting the sky's endless blue, and feel the pulse of a nation reborn, where Horus's reign brings stability, yet Set's chaos reminds all that harmony requires vigilance. You imagine Horus ruling from a throne of light, his spear at rest but ready, his heart carrying the weight of Osiris's legacy and the scars of Set's strikes. You wonder if he feels the desert's pull, where Set waits, his rebellion quiet but never gone, or if Set watches from afar, his storm a spark that could flare again. A lotus sways in the breeze, goodbye, and you chuckle softly, thinking how even gods must live with old grudges, like neighbors who nod but never forget. You kneel, your fingers trailing in the Nile's cool flow, and feel Egypt's rhythm, a balance born of Horus's justice and Set's tempered chaos. This is no ordinary land, it's a tapestry woven from their war, where every field and temple bears the mark of their struggle. You rise, the sun's warmth steadying you, and sense the story reaching its end, pulling you toward a reflection on the eternal dance of rivals. The lotus scent curls around you, grounding you, and you're bound to this legacy, a harmony that shapes Egypt's soul. You step along the riverbank, the Nile's whisper guiding you, and let the tale unfold, carrying you into the heart of their enduring balance. You breathe deeply, the desert's pulse in your lungs, and feel the weight of Horus's reign, tempered by Set's shadow, guiding you toward Egypt's lasting peace. The Nile stretches wide, its banks alive with farmers tending fields and children playing in the shallows, and you walk slowly, each step sinking into the earth, feeling the weight of a land shaped by Horus's victory. You see his influence everywhere in the orderly rows of barley, the temples gleaming with offerings, the people's quiet trust in a king who fought for them. You imagine Horus soaring above, his wings a shield, his eyes ever watchful, knowing Set's chaos is never fully tamed. The desert looms to the west, its red sands still, but you sense Set there, his form a faint silhouette, his storm subdued but alive, a reminder that order needs chaos to define it. You pause by a small shrine, its stone carved with falcons and storms, and run your fingers over the glyphs, feeling their edges, a record of the war that unified Egypt. You wonder if Horus ever looks to the desert, feeling Set's gaze, or if Set stirs in his exile, plotting a spark that could test Horus's reign. The Nile ripples, catching the sun, and you smile faintly, picturing how even gods must coexist with rivals, like siblings sharing an uneasy truce. You kneel again, letting the water touch your hands, and feel the pulse of Maat, the balance Horus restored, tempered by Set's role as the storm at its edge. This land is sacred, not for its beauty, but for its harmony. a delicate dance where Horus's light holds Set's shadow in check. You rise, the sun high overhead, and sense the story settling, drawing you toward a final reflection on their legacy. You step forward, the shrine fading behind you, and let the tale pull you deeper toward the moment when Egypt's soul shines brightest, forged in the balance of rivals. You walk on, the Nile's rhythm steady, and breathe slowly, the lotus scent lingering, feeling the land's pulse guide you into the heart of a nation shaped by Horus and Set's eternal dance. The riverbank curves gently, leading you to a quiet stretch where the Nile slows, its waters smooth as glass, reflecting the sun like a golden crown. You're standing now in the heart of Horus's Egypt, where his reign is a steady hand, guiding the land through seasons of flood and harvest, its people secure under his watchful gaze. You see a falcon circle above, its wings catching the light, and know it's Horus, his presence a promise of order, his scars a testament to the war that crowned him. The desert is distant now, but Set's shadow lingers, a faint red haze that reminds you chaos is never far, a rival whose defiance gave Horus's victory its meaning. You wonder if Horus feels pride, his father's throne secured, or if Set's silence is a challenge, a storm waiting for its moment. You pause by a cluster of lotuses, their petals trembling in the breeze, and notice a single red stone half buried in the earth, its color a quiet echo of Set's chaos. A reminder that Egypt's peace is a balance, not a conquest. You chuckle quietly, thinking how even gods must learn to share the stage, like actors in a play that never ends. You kneel one last time, your hand resting on the stone, and feel Egypt's heartbeat, a rhythm of light and shadow, order and chaos, Horus and Set forever bound. This is where their war finds its legacy, not in victory or defeat, but in a harmony that endures, shaping Egypt's soul through time. You rise, the sun softening as it dips, and sense the story closing, drawing you toward a reflection on the balance they forged. You step along the Nile, its whisper fading, and let the tale settle, carrying you into the heart of a nation where Horus's reign and Set's shadow dance eternally. You breathe slowly, the desert's warmth fading, and feel the Nile's pulse, guiding you into the legacy of rivals, where Egypt's history shines in their delicate balance. You're resting now, the Nile's gentle flow a soft lullaby, its waters carrying the echo of Horus and Set's war, a tale of rivals that shaped a nation's soul. The sun dips low, painting the sky in hues of amber and violet, and you feel Egypt's heartbeat slow, a rhythm of balance born from their struggle. Horus's wings soar in your mind, a shield of order, while Set's red sands whisper from the desert, a reminder that peace is a dance, not a stillness. Their war was not just for a throne, but for you, for the strength to find harmony in your own storms, to rise like Horus, resolute, and to temper chaos like Set, with purpose. Let the lotus scent linger, the Nile's pulse cradle you, and know that you carry their legacy, a balance of light and shadow that steadies your heart. As the stars emerge, let your breath soften, your worries drift like reeds on the river, and rest in the peace of a story that holds Egypt's soul and yours in its gentle embrace. The desert fades, the Nile quiets, and you sink into sleep, strong, calm, whole. Please, if this tale warmed your heart, share it with someone who needs a moment of peace, and let the gods' balance guide you through the night.